The UK economy, just how strong is it? Neil MacKinnon joins us now. Neil, according to the EEF, UK manufacturing is encountering a poor end to the year amid gathering gloom from the global economy. Today we've had a plethora of data ahead of a looming MPC action. What did you make of the data? And as a rate move is off the table anytime soon, what are investors hoping to glean?
Well, as you say, the industrial production manufacturing output data that's been released was on the disappointing side, but I think that reflects two things. One, the sluggish nature of the recovery in the Eurozone, and two, it reflects the fallout from what's been dubbed the China shock. So the numbers weren't together all that bad. I mean, remember that manufacturing accounts for less than 20% of the UK economy. But the outlook for 2016 is probably for UK economic growth of around 2.5%, which is not far from the sort of the trend rates of growth that we've seen in the aftermath of the financial crisis.
The no vote to independence would suggest the UK is in it together. However, Scotland's economy is lagging behind the rest of the UK and has an unsustainable reliance on major building projects propping up growth. Do you see these divergences being dealt with anytime soon?
No, I don't think they're going to be dealt with. And the slump in the oil prices completely derailed the SNP's budget plans, and it's just crazy for any government to assume that oil prices are going to remain high forever and therefore finance all the pet spending projects. A government should have a plan B, and the SNP did not have a plan B. So it's left the Scottish economy in an uncertain situation. And certainly, while I think a recession in the Scottish economy can be avoided, the reduction in the oil price is having an impact. It may even be the case that the SNP's tax plans are also having an impact as well, in that it provides an incentive for firms, financial institutions, to think about moving south of the border. So all of these things, I think, are not constructive.
Retail sales dipped in November despite the UK very much jumping on the Black Friday bandwagon. If consumers are not in fact going to be driving the UK economy, at least traditionally, what is?
I did read at the weekend that the increase in personal loans has taken it to levels which are not far from the highs that we saw just prior to the crisis. So I think that's something the Bank of England should take heed of. And we should also bear in mind that real incomes are going up as well. That's something that's been highlighted by many economists. So while the retail sales numbers were a little bit flat, I think that the underlying fundamentals are interesting and suggest that there is something going on in the spending side of the UK economy.
If we look at sterling, 150 is at it again. As human beings, we like round numbers, but this week may provide the catalyst for big moves. Which key levels do you think we should look out for, one way or the other?
Well, I think it's as much to do with the US dollar as well as sterling. Sterling tends to be, get caught up in the middle of the big moves in between the euro and the dollar. I mean, there's been a big expectation that the US dollar would surge ahead on a divergent monetary policy theme. The Fed looks as though it's set to tighten next week. The ECB, we've seen last week, providing further stimulus. Bank of England sitting on its hands. And so sterling, it may well be that the downside for sterling is not that great. I think actually, 140 as a downside move, even on the scenario of a stronger dollar, weaker sterling, dovish Bank of England, all of that. I don't really see it much below 140, to be honest. And sterling may well surprise. Obviously there's the the UK referendum, which will be held sometime next year, which could create some uncertainty. But I think I don't see any crisis in sterling at all. I think any moves are going to be sort of fairly muted.
Neil, great chatting this through with you, thank you. Well, that's all for me for the moment, but find out what the latest data from Japan said about its economy with Jessica Walker. Bye for now.